Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John Kelly Profiler here, and welcome to a very sad case. Today, we're going to be looking at who killed Rachel Morin, and this is going to be part one. What type of killer killed Rachel Morin? If we can figure that out, we've got a better idea on who it is, right? What type of killer killed her? Revenge killing? Was it retaliation? Was it a sexual stalk and murder? We're going to get into that today. And we love your feedback. We love all your comments. We love your subscriptions. So please continue to subscribe and please continue those very, very valuable and smart comments. I also want to thank you so much for purchasing my book, Discovering Lazarus, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of John Kelly. How I kicked drug habit, a very severe drug habit, became a psychotherapist, and then went on to become a profiler. It's all right here in Discovering Lazarus. And thank you so much for all your positive feedback on this and for your purchases. Can't thank you enough. I also want to send a shout out to Grizzly True Crime. Okay. I mean, Gisla K does a very great job. She does a comprehensive job. I am focused on bringing down this killer. Our team is focused on bringing down this killer ASAP so we do not have another Rachel Morin out there. We want to get this guy now, get him as fast as possible, get him off the street and put him in a cage, okay? So the first thing we want to think about and talk about, and I'm working the angles here. I'm not going to go into a big story. I'm going to work the angles. I'm interested in catching this guy, not interested in just telling you guys a story. And I'm sure you can appreciate that, okay? This perp or perps, okay, was familiar with the trail and knew it very well. This guy, whoever he is, may be a woman, I doubt it, but whoever this killer is, or killers, we have to wait and see, okay? They were very, very familiar with the trail. They knew the trail very well, okay? And they also knew the tunnels well, because that's where they displayed and dumped her body. Okay. And that's very important. It's kind of like those of you that followed us back in Delphi. The person's very familiar with the area, very familiar with the trail, knew the trail in the area, knew where to ambush, knew where to abduct her, and then knew where to kill her and dump her body. Okay. So that's what we're looking for. Somebody that knows the area, knows it well. Okay. Extremely familiar with the tunnels. You're going to leave a body somewhere. Believe me, these guys, they definitely are familiar with that area where they're going to leave that body, because that's where they're most vulnerable. And that's where they can be caught and identified. So you better believe that this guy knows that area, knows those tunnels, and was very, very cognizant of it being a safe place for him to dump it and get away with it, dump her body and get away with it. And he did. Okay. Again, this is a very, very sad case. And again, I just can't send enough of our deepest condolences and sympathies to Rachel's family and friends. This just destroys families and breaks friends' hearts. No such thing as closure with stuff like this. Don't believe it when you hear that closure word. There's no such thing as closure. Okay. If she was killed and laid out in an indecent way, what could that mean? Okay. Well, that can mean one of two things. One, we got a real sexual animal on our hands here that we're trying to bring down. His focus was on sex. His focus was on her body. His focus was on, killing her and, getting her under his control as quickly as possible. I do believe a weapon of some sort was used, in some way to get her from point A to the second location. Probably is kill and dump zone. Not sure. We have to figure that out. But it's important for us to start talking about this and what kind of guy this is, or what kind of woman this is, what kind of predator this is, so we understand, the type of person we're looking for and who could have done this. Okay. So again, what does that mean? Okay. Did he lay her out in an indecent way? If he did lay her out in a decent way, why did he do that? Did he do it to shame her? Okay, to humiliate her? Did he do it to shock first responders when they showed up and found her? That's something that a posing type killer, sexual killer, would do. Okay. Not only humiliate the victim, but humiliate and shock first responders that found the body. And he did a pretty good job with that because I think, from what I understand, one girl that did find the body, I don't know if she was alone or not, but is in total shock over finding Rachel. Okay. So this could be the kind of person we're looking for, and many sexual predators, or a good number of sexual predators, will do this. Okay, they'll pose the victim in a certain way to shock, the first people that show up. Also, we're hearing about a lot of face damage, from the attack, a lot of blunt force trauma to the head and face. I don't know if that's true or not. I have to take it for what it's worth. Okay. Because is this something that a sexual predator would be focused on? He'd be focused on disabling her, knocking her out, gaining control, that kind of thing. Would he be particularly interested in destroying her face? I mean, this girl was beautiful. She had a beautiful face. I think it could have happened, but I'm not, putting my eggs in that basket, if you will. Now we turn around and say, okay, what if this wasn't a sexual predator? What if this was somebody who's, interested in revenge? Okay, somebody that had some kind of bone to pick with Rachel and for whatever reason was interested in revenge. Could this be a revenge killing? Well, you know, a revenge type killing on a trail like that can be done in a lot of different ways. I mean, if it's just about revenge, if it's just about, gaining something from her demise, then they could have, shot her or stabbed her walking down the trail where they ambushed her real quick, killed her, walked away, and that would be the end of it. Okay. Somebody that's interested in real displaying, really involved in a display of their revenge, could have taken around and put her in a posed position, maybe in another place, okay, instead of in the tunnels, maybe out in the open, you know. So what we're looking at here is this, a retaliation kind of murder, revenge kind of murder, or is this, a sexual predator? So we have to take these dynamics into consideration because it's a lot easier if you want somebody out of the way and it's a revenge kind of retaliation kind of killing, okay, especially in the woods, out of the way, nobody's around, might be heading towards dusk. It'd be a lot easier to get that person out of the way and to kill that person with a knife or strangle them if you don't want to hear any noise, or some kind of weapon that's muffled in some way. It's even sophisticated to the point of a silencer or something. But to go to the trouble of, abducting a woman, getting her to the second location of your choice, to have power and control over her, and sexual dominance, to undress her or to spend the time coercing her to undress herself, and then this, beating to death with a blunt force object or whatever, if that in fact is true. I mean, that is more of a not so sophisticated kind of murder. This is more or less your sexual killer, your sexual predator that is very familiar with the area and is on the hunt and is looking for a victim, and may not be the brightest. And usually, in a lot of these cases, they don't have any kind of relationship with the victim, or the victim doesn't know them. Okay. Now, also, too, it said that Rachel spent a lot of time on the internet, with possible internet conversations on dating apps. So we don't know if it could be somebody from there. Again, we can't dismiss retaliation, revenge murder right now from looking at a pure sexual predator that was working the trail that day, stalking that trail, and looking for the perfect victim. And God bless her, she was a gorgeous woman, and certainly would appeal to any kind of sexual predator in the area. So again, are we dealing with a sexual predator from the area that's a sex offender that lives close to the area and may have seen her, on her daily strolls or walks, for a period of time, and may have focused in on her? Okay. The other thing that's of concern to me is that this, fellow, spent the time, this murderer, this killer spent the time doing what he did. See, that again kind of pulls me away from this retaliation, kind of revenge type killing, for the amount of effort that was put into this. But also, the other thing it brings up to me is the amount of work that went into it, up close and personal, in being with her for a period of time, and especially with the blunt force trauma or anything else that could have been involved with up close and personal contact. Because, what we know for sure is that, there's going to be, should be some DNA. I don't think if it's a random, sexual predator that, they're going to be sophisticated enough to really be able to think through, the different aspects of evidence, physical evidence that could be left there. And now I'd like to talk straight to the killer for a minute, because, these killers watch everything. They're watching all the news, they're watching YouTube, they're watching anything on any kind of media that may talk about them and give them an idea of how close police are to them, or if they made any mistakes, or, anybody is catching up to them and getting close. So what I'd like to say to the killer is, and I'm assuming he's watching this, or he will watch this, because they always, like I said, they look at any forms of media they can, usually, to try and stay on top of the investigation, find out how close law enforcement is to them. Mr. Killer, do you think you left any fibers there? Any fibers from your clothes, from your apparel? Do you think you left any DNA? Do you think you left any skin follicles there that are going to be picked up? Do you think, that you left any blood there? Do you think you dropped a hair? Do you think any of your hair, just strands of your hair, fell out there by Rachel or on top of Rachel? I want you to understand that. I want you to think about that, Mr. Killer, because personally, I think you did. And you know what? They're going to be coming for you. And they're going to come for you probably in the night, okay? Because you're a pretty dangerous guy, pretty vicious. And they'll be smashing into your house, in the middle of the night, like they did with Brian Koberger, if they think you're that dangerous, which you seem to be a very dangerous, vicious person. So, all I can say to you is, have a good day. hope you get a good night's sleep, right? Because they're coming for you. And, it's only a matter of time. You're going. All right. So, anyway, also, I want to, put a nice shout out to law enforcement. They're all over this. They did a great job. They bought an ATV. They're combing the place. Really, really on top of it, and making sure the people that enjoy and walk the trail know that they're there, they're watching, they're out there as best as they could be. Okay, they're putting a full team press on this. They're putting a full court press on this, and I think they'll have this killer sooner than later, especially with all the tips that have gone in. And speaking of tips, if you have any tips, please send them over to law enforcement. Don't send them to us. We can't put the cuffs on anybody. We're just trying to figure out who this guy is and how we could maybe expose him a little more. Okay. Thank you. And please, we're up for all your comments, but tips, please send to law enforcement. Okay. If you have a problem with sending a tip to law enforcement, send it to us and we'll send it to law enforcement. Okay. So that's pretty much where we're at. Let's get this guy, bring him down. You are now involved in a manhunt online. God bless. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. We can't thank you enough. Stay safe. Thank you.